Welcome back to another fun-filled show. I am your host. He is Blanchard, aka Free Blanche, aka Blanstradamus, aka Blanchy Kruger. Today's title is Nick Fuentes a Fed? Part 2. The reason that I said that Nick Fuentes could possibly be a Fed is that was because of his response to January the 6th, what he said on the day and what he's saying now. And the two things don't match up. I played it last week. He told people to push through the barricades, disregard the police, and go into the Capitol. And then he turns around and says that he didn't do any of those things, which is why he didn't get locked up. So my question is, why would you tell people to do something that you either A, knew was wrong, or B, you weren't willing to do? So either Nick Fuentes is a Fed or he has very poor character. And in my opinion, they're kind of one and the same. The Bible says that to whom much is given, that much more is required. So when God gives you gifts, God gives you talents, you can even say that you may be immensely blessed, come from a blessed family. There's going to be more required of you. You don't have the same requirements as somebody that doesn't have anything and they got to just literally dig out the mud to get it. I'm sorry. So Nick Fuentes was given a gift. He's a great communicator. He can captivate an audience. So that is a gift. And so with that gift comes responsibility. And so being across from that Capitol, telling people to go into the Capitol, and you knew you weren't going into the Capitol, is a problem. It says I got to charge my mouse soon, huh? Dang. My mouse is running low, huh? All right, I'll charge it. Thank you, Mac. God is our awesome defender. What's up? How you doing? Mika, what's up? How you doing? Tierra, what's up? Dayon, what's up? How you doing? Dayon said Nick is disgusting. But let's just jump into it because somebody wanted me to watch Mr. Fuentes' response to him being called, his response to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens slandering him. Now, here goes my take on the whole Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. So the problem with the right is that the right is traditionally stale. It's bland. The right is like oatmeal with no sugar. And if it is sugar, it's probably just maybe some brown sugar. The right is like the best you'll get is some cut up fruit in the oatmeal with no sugar. I mean, that's, not saying oatmeal is bad for you, but it's what you get. But so the problem is that a lot of people that are coming to the right are really from the left, if that makes sense. So they're left. So they're initially like let's say me, for instance, I was left, right? But now I'm on what you would consider the right. Most of the new people that have come over here in the past, I would say maybe 9 years, have been people that are converts from the left coming to the right. Now, the problem with that is that most people did not do the detox that I did. I quit cold turkey. I said, I'm not black. I left it all behind. I'm not black. I don't fool with black culture, et cetera, et cetera. I did a whole detox. I'm following Christ. That's where I went. Most people didn't do that. Most people had a few good talking points that the right agreed with, and the right embraced them and brought them over but the majority of who they really are is really just they're a bunch of liberals. They are. They're liberals that aren't insane. If that makes sense. So when I look at all these new people, I listen to them talk sometimes, I can tell where their core is. And most of their core is of a liberal ideology. When we talk about, when I talk about America first, right? I know what America first means for me, and I know what the problem is if America's not first. If America is not first, then the world's going to collapse. It's just that simple. There should be no country taking precedent over the United States. Why? Because if America falls, it's like a domino effect. So nothing should take precedence over America, period. Because the moment America falls, you and I know you can cancel Christmas. It's over. Are they doing it live? Man, I hate to have to do it during this time, but I mean, I thought he's going live yesterday. Anyway, so y'all can, yeah, listen, y'all go check out Chad and Keisha. I'll be over here talking about is Nick Fuentes a Fed part 2. But anyway, someone wanted me to see his response to Candace and Tucker Carlson. But again, before I get started, I want to say again that the reason why I said that Nick Fuentes can be a Fed is because what he said on January the 6th and what he's saying now. If he had to come out and said I was wrong for what I said, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have led people astray, I shouldn't have told people to do something that I wasn't willing to do. If he had said that, I'd say, okay, I don't think he's a Fed, but he didn't do that. He basically said people were dumb for what they did. He said people were dumb for following instructions that he gave them. Meanwhile, he said that he and his friends, his little group, they left. You tell folks to go into the Capitol, but then you peel out. I can't respect that. So either he has poor character or he's a Fed. You all decide. But let's continue. One more thing before I get started. You know, I watch a lot of, crime shows and interrogations and, all kind of breakdowns of events that happened. I just want to say this, right? I just want to say that I love y'all. I truly do. And I respect you all for coming here consistently and listening to me run my mouth. I really do appreciate it. And if nobody's telling you all they love you, I truly do love you all, and I wish the best for you all. I realize a lot of people out there, they don't get enough love or even get told somebody even loves them. I think it kind of affects people's outlooks on life. Not kind of, it does affect the outlook on life. But I do want you all to know that you all are loved, and if no one else loves you, know that God loves you. Okay, now we can get started. Hold on, y'all want to see my y'all want to see my my thumbnail for this show? I just think it's funny. I just think it's hilarious, but I got a weird sense of humor. Here we go. Here it goes. uh, I just I don't know why this cracks me up, but I just think it's funny because I'm like, I got the Mossad, CIA, FBI, but then I got the Kente cloth because we was kings thing, Sub-Saharan Africa, all that stuff. And then I got the pharaohs. You know, Pharaoh had the Jews, not the Jews, I'm sorry. Pharaoh had the Hebrews sweating in the sun. So yeah, I just thought it was funny. Anyway, I'll put it on IG so y'all can see it. I don't know why it cracks me up though. Anyway, all right. What do I think of Candace Owens? I think Candace Owens is an opportunist. I think she's a contrarian, and I think she's a liberal. And I think she's a liberal because when she was talking with Nick Fuentes and she was talking about the Egypt and all that stuff, and she was being disingenuous. And then she said, he came on my show as a black woman. She's been throwing this I'm a black woman thing around for a couple of months now. And I mean, you notice I don't ever use nothing about my ethnicity. If somebody was to ask me, I would say, yeah, I consider myself white. You know, the Moors tell me I'm white, so I consider myself white. But I consider myself European, as the Moors say, hybrid European. But I'm not going to get on the show and ever say, as a black man, you're not going to hear me say that. Matter of fact, I don't even consider myself black. But the fact that she's talking about as a black woman and all that, when I hear that kind of talk, that's a liberal talking point. It's just a liberal talking point. And so I think Candace Owens is talented. I think she has the trifecta. She has the beauty. She has the brains. She's articulate. I mean, she has all the tools to be a superhero, but I do think she's an opportunist. I think she's a contrarian. But I do see her trying to gatekeep Nick Fuentes along with Tucker Carlson, along with all the rest of them, because Nick Fuentes has the youth. They don't have the youth. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and all them, they have the middle-aged people. They have the 35 and up. Nick Fuentes got all the young people. And matter of fact, not only does Nick Fuentes have all the young people, he has all the young folks coming up. So he's a threat to what you would call the conscious, or I think Keisha and Chuck call it the woke right, the conscious right, or whatever you want to call it. He's a threat to that spiced up breakfast I was talking about earlier, where the normal conservatives and Republicans are like bland oatmeal, but you know, these new people are like, you know, the omelet with the waffle, you know, the turkey bacon or the salmon croquettes, the cheese grits. That's what these new people are. They're like liberals that have some conservative values. They're liberals that understand geopolitics. They're liberals that don't want to see America become what they know is bad. So, but they still have liberal ideologies. I mean, that's possible, Joey. The thinking young people are listening to Charlie Kirk. Joy Pippin said he doesn't have the smart young people, only the woke young right people. The thinking young people are listening to Charlie Kirk. But I hate to break it to you, Joey. Most of the young people don't think though. So like I said, he has most of them because they're not going to think. They're not looking for the nuance. They want the most sensationalized, radicalized take on anything. So Charlie Kirk may have the thinking young people, but he don't have the majority of young people. The majority of young people want to be stimulated immediately. They don't want to have to sit through, read a book, cross-reference, see who this was. They're not doing all that. They were listening to Nick Fuentes. But let's continue. But and keep in mind, I think that all three of them are talented. Nick, Candace, and Tucker, all of them are talented. But the question is, for today's live is Nick a Fed? And I've already given my reason to why he possibly could be. Now I'm looking for his folder. Here we go.
Being accused of being the CIA by Peter Thiel's best boys, by Tucker Carlson with his daddy. Tucker Carlson's, and you know what? Here's the other thing. Tucker Carlson said, I'm a weird gay kid in the basement. Yeah, and I'm from Chicago. You're right. Well, okay, you're not right about all of that. But I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tucker Carlson says, I have so many trust funds, I never have to work. Tucker went to a $45,000 per year private high school, then a $45,000 per year selective Ivy League school in New England. Tucker Carlson's daddy was a Reagan appointee. And then, after years of bragging about being an elite, bragging about being so out of touch and so rich, now he's going to be the spokesperson for all the white people. Now he's going to roll up his sleeves. I just like to hunt and fish in my log cabin. I care about Klarna and credit card debt. But then when it comes to me, I'm one of the real disaffected white people. You want to talk about me and them? I am them. He says Nick Fuentes is leading all of the disaffected young white men. I am a disaffected young white man. I was a precocious, intelligent, young white college student who went to Boston University, who was pro-Trump and red-pilled by Trump and animated by Trump's message of America first. And I asked questions about Israel, and I was punished for it. I did it years before Tucker Carlson started talking about Israel last year. And I sacrificed, and I was targeted by the ADL, by the SPLC, by the federal government, by the conservative movement that both Candace and Tucker were a part of. Candace and Tucker had nothing to say about Israel until it became unavoidable last year. Not popular, but unavoidable. And now they...
Okay. Christopher Barksville said, you know who is a Fed? That dude who opened that hair store up in Texas. You are absolutely right. I couldn't believe that. I'm gonna do a video on that too. That was absolutely insane. But so this is what I noticed. Again, you know, I believe that all of this stuff is contrived. So, you know, I don't believe any of this stuff is happening organically. It's all orchestrated. That's my belief. But if you notice, you have, remember when people were saying Black Lives Matter, I stand with BLM? Remember that kind of grift back in 2020? It got real popular in 2021. Remember that? Now that version of that grift is I stand with Israel. Like the same way people were talking about I stand with BLM is the same way people are talking about I stand with Israel. I'm not saying all people. I'm saying this influx of people saying I'm standing with Israel are the same folks that would have said I'm standing with BLM. Not that they are on the same political team, but the sentiments behind saying I stand with something because it is popular. The flip side to that is to say, okay, I don't stand with Israel, right? Same type of thing for whatever reason. Same type of reasons that the left would have given to say, I don't support, let's say, Donald Trump. He's a fascist, he's a racist, he's all these things. I don't support Donald Trump. I'm against Donald Trump. So at a period of time, being against Donald Trump got you an audience. It got you in the room. Back then, saying I stand with Israel didn't mean nothing. Think about it. Back in 2020, if somebody said I stand with Israel, everybody would be like, so? It didn't mean nothing. Now saying it means something. Same Israel, same people in charge, same conflict going on, same thing. But back in 2020, people would have said, so? Now I stand with Israel matters. Back in 2020, somebody would have said, I don't stand with Israel for these reasons. they probably would have called anti-Semitic or probably ignored. Wouldn't have been a big deal. But once again, social media put out all these images, and I told people, I said, they're showing you what's going on in Gaza, but they're not showing you what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I said, they give you all this footage. Everybody got a camera phone showing you everything about Israel, Palestine, but they ain't got nobody with a camera phone in Russia, Ukraine. And I said, I told y'all back then it was a setup. So now we fast forward, and now, again, I told y'all, there is a moral argument that's allowed to have the conversation. And let me say this for the record. Being against the Israeli government is not anti-Semitism. Being against how Israel acquired their land is not anti-Semitism. It's not. Even to say you don't like the religion is still not anti-Semitism. Because I can say I don't like the religion of Satan, but that doesn't mean I hate people that worship Satan, if that makes sense. These are all opinion-based stances. They're not anti-anything. And I think the problem is that when people are having this discussion, they just jump to anti-this, and this just causes more, it just makes everything worse. Instead of just saying, I disagree with you, I hear what you say, but I disagree, it just jumps to anti-Semitism. Now, if you're running around here and you're blaming the Jews for your life being in disarray, I'm not going to call you anti-Semitic. I'm going to just say you're stupid. You shouldn't be blaming anybody for your plight in life. If you believe in God, then what the Jews are doing have no power over you if you are truly following Christ. Or if you're following your religion, if it's Islam, if you believe in Allah and Muhammad and all them, then what the Jews are doing shouldn't be affecting you. If you following Buddha, then what the Jews are doing shouldn't be affecting you. So I disagree with the whole I'm oppressed by the Jews. I disagree with that. But at the end of the day, though, what Nick Fuentes is saying here is right. He said once the conversation got unavoidable, then they decided to jump on it. They did. And that's true. Like I said 5 years ago, I stand with Israel. So what? I'm against Israel. Folks didn't really care. Like it wasn't even a big deal like it is now. Now it's a topic, and you can tell it's a topic because you go on YouTube and look at all the videos about are Israel the chosen people, Israel, Palestine. Like you look at all those videos do numbers, all of them. If you're a decent content creator, all those videos doing numbers. So it's a hot topic.
Want to gatekeep me out and do this personality attack and say I'm a bitter loser in my basement from Chicago. I'm a kid from Chicago. And they slipped up there because they forgot for 1 second that they're pretending to be the spokesperson for exactly that kind of person.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Paul. My bad. My bad. So yes, Paul is right. So the extremes are that I stand with Israel or I stand with Gaza and Hamas. Or no, I stand with Palestine. So basically Palestine. I stand with Palestine. I stand with Israel. I stand with Palestine. I stand with Israel is the equivalent to I stand with BLM, Make America Great Again. The majority of people that have these saying I stand with, I stand against are doing it from just an emotional opinion. Not saying it's right or wrong, but it's just an emotional opinion. Because we're so conditioned to have to pick a side. So it's like, okay, you stand with Israel, okay, I'm gonna stand with Hamas. You stand with Israel, okay, I'm gonna stand with Palestine. Or you stand with Hamas, okay, I'm gonna stand with Israel. You stand with Palestine, okay, so it's just like they got us in the mind frame of playing, having to be on a side or a team, but in actuality, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against the rulers of darkness, wickedness in high places, and principalities. So what I'm trying to tell you all is that no matter what side you want to be on, both sides are going to give the same outcome. Whoever you think is going to win, you're going to get to the same outcome. Christopher Bakersfield said, today you can stand with anybody except Christ. I agree. Let's continue.
Tucker's mask slipped, and he forgot for a minute that for 8 years he's been pretending to care about the plight of weird kids in their parents' basement who are broke and didn't go to an Ivy League school, living in cities that don't matter like Chicago, not like Washington, D.C. or L.A. or New York. And that's why he had such disdain and contempt for me in that moment. Between the personality attacks, he's lonely, he's weird, he lives in a basement. I'm sorry, did you guys forget that that's your target audience that you're trying to pander to? Did you forget that for 2 seconds? And I'm the inauthentic person? I am that person. I am a spokesman for the disaffected white man because I am one, and you two are not. Candace Owens got married to British royalty worth $200 million after meeting him for 2 weeks on Zoom. What the fuck is even that about? And Tucker Carlson's dad ran the CIA's propaganda empire fighting the Soviet Union. He went and fought with the Contras when he was in college. When I was in college, I was doing a webcam show in my friend's dorm room criticizing Israel. So who's the CIA cutout? Who's the inauthentic one? Who's the crazy, hateful one? I would never describe a well-meaning young white person who's trying to get ahead as a weird kid in his basement from Chicago. And what is that supposed to mean? What is wrong with being from Chicago? What is wrong with being weird? What is wrong with living in your basement?
Nick, now you know good and well he wasn't talking about something wrong with Chicago. He's talking about you specifically being a weird kid, living in your parents' basement, 26-year-old virgin. He's talking about you. He's not talking about Chicago. You just happen to live in Chicago. If you lived in Topeka, Kansas, he would have said Topeka, Kansas. But again, Nick Fuentes is making some excellent points. He's making excellent points about as to why he isn't a Fed. He's making excellent points. But let's continue. Well, yeah, Tucker Carlson lied. There's no way he just found out his dad was in the CIA when his dad died. Stop the cap. Come on now. I might have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night. Tucker Carlson did not find out his dad was in the CIA when his father passed away. Nor is Tucker Carlson going to have me believe that Nick is a Fed because he knew his dad was in the CIA, when I guarantee Nick Fuentes got it from the internet. And there's a bunch of people that know that Tucker Carlson's dad was in the CIA. That's not information that makes you a Fed. Come on, Tucker. But anyway, Tucker Carlson, but again, the goal of he and Candace Owens meeting up is to discredit Nick Fuentes. Again, because okay, how can I say this? The person that takes the radical approach always has the eyes. They always have the potential to take your followers. So the reason why Christ was threatening to the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, the elders, the reason why he was a threat to them is because his message was so radical that you automatically make people do this. They can't help but to do it. They have 1,000 questions. What manner of man is this? So the fact that Nick Fuentes is so, I don't want to say far right. I'll just say this. The fact that he's so convicted about what he believes in, it's naturally going to draw people in. And he's a great communicator, and he's not intimidating. So when you look at him and listen to him, you don't feel bad. You don't feel like you got to go to the gym, or you got to go and make some more money, or you got to go and get married. Like when you look at it, and listen, no diss to Nick, but when you look at him, he doesn't make you feel any kind of insecurity. So guess what? He's easy to listen to. Even though he's saying some things that might sound crazy, he's still easy to listen to. He's a great communicator. So Candace knows that. Alex Jones knows that. Tucker Carlson knows that. All these people know this. He is the young guy. He is the Billy the Kid of this quote unquote space. So it's natural that they would try to discredit him and ruin him. I get it. I get it.
That's a lot of people because of the problems you claim to care about. Tucker's at Turning Point USA extolling the predatory nature of usury and how it's preventing young white men from getting homes. And then the week after says, you're in your mom's basement. So which is it? Now it's preventing young white men. The predatory nature of usury and how it's preventing young white men from getting homes. And then the week after says, you're in your mom's basement. So which is it? Do you care about Klarna and people going into debt to order pizzas and home ownership being impossible? Or do you think that's a contemptible, low status thing to be ridiculed and mocked? Who's pandering here exactly? Because that wasn't you. You were born to the Swanson family fortune and your daddy who ran the CIA. You know, my dad didn't even graduate college. My dad worked for the tollway. His dad died of a drug overdose in the 70s. My mother's father was a garbage man in Chicago, and he committed suicide. He was a veteran of World War II. Who's the CIA cutout? Who's the poser? Who is America? I am America. Chicago is America. That's an American story. I didn't go to Yale Law School and suck Peter Thiel's dick and then get a sinecure at a venture capital firm advising Rebecca Mercer and writing Hillbilly Elegy and talking about it at the Aspen Institute. That's your biographical credibility? How many of these disaffected white people that love Trump because he's racist went to Yale Law School and got plucked out by Peter Thiel? Whoever he disaffected white people that love Trump because he's racist went to Yale Law School.
So I always tell you all to pay attention to the language. Listen, I don't think that Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are jealous of Nick Fuentes. I think that they are threatened by Nick Fuentes because you can't discredit him. So this is what I'm saying, right? The things they were trying to discredit him with are not going to work. Saying that he's gay in his mom's basement only gives him more credibility. Saying that he's not a good person and he did you wrong and he was one way, this is not going to work because his audience doesn't care about that. His audience wants to get to the truth. And unfortunately, the truth has to be something that is very controversial. Not saying that it's not, but so I don't think they're jealous of him. I think they're threatened by him, which is why you see Alex Jones bringing him on the show. A lot of folks are going to start bringing him on their show because they have to discredit him because his following is organic. He has an organic grassroots following, and you can't discredit who he is because he owns it. You hear him saying it. And also, when you listen to him, he doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. He doesn't make you go look in your wallet. He don't make you go question your degree. He don't make you question why you're working at this job. He doesn't. That could be a gift and a curse. So I think that I don't think they're jealous. I think they're intimidated, or not even intimidated. Yeah, threatened by him. Moldigar said same kind of outsider appeal that Donald J. Trump has. He's a political outsider. The same, yeah, same type of appeal. Same kind of appeal. Bax Fresh LTD said he thinks black people are dumb and backwards. I don't think he thinks black people are dumb. Honestly, I don't think he thinks that. I think he believes black people have lower IQ. I don't think he thinks that they're dumb. I think that, and he doesn't believe that all black folks have a low IQ either. He talked about that. You said he said it. Well, find the clip. He was just on Candace Owens' show and they were talking about it. He didn't say it on her show. He was just on her show. He didn't say all black people were dumb. He said on average, they have a lower IQ. Now, culturally, we know that black culture is horrible. So if he said something about black culture, it's true. We know this, but he clarified what he was talking about. Okay, well, Bakes Fresh, just get the video. He mentioned it because he was talking with Candace Owens. And that was what she wanted to talk about. You know, when you go on people's show, they're going to respond to what you've been saying online. So she started out with him talking about her and then all his other takes. So there's a whole segment where they talk about IQ and all of this stuff. And so he talks about IQ. He talks about on average, talks about sub-Saharan Africa. He talks about black folks here having a higher IQ. He talks about all of it. He talks about a lot of it. But to be fair, he doesn't believe that all black people are dumb. He doesn't believe that. I don't think anybody believes that. I think even the most staunch believer in low IQ black people wouldn't say it's all. They probably say most. You saying, come on, dog, but people, you didn't watch. Hold up. In the chat, did Nick Fuentes say that all black people were dumb? Can somebody in the chat tell me if I'm tripping? Did anybody hear Nick Fuentes say all black people are dumb? Tierra said no. Donna said no. Paul said no. Shelly said no. Thank you, Shelly. Candace called him a racist. Candy said no. Modi said, I didn't hear that. So again, I'm sorry, Boxed Fresh. He didn't say that. He didn't defend it. He clarified what he was saying. He said not all. He said most. He said most. So yeah, I'm referencing what you're saying, but he didn't say what you said though. So what Nick Fuentes said right here though is propaganda. I want you to listen to it.
At the Aspen Institute, that's your biographical credibility? How many of these disaffected white people that love Trump because he's racist went to Yale Law School and got...
Now, why would he say that? Now, everybody knows that Donald Trump is not racist. Why would Nick Fuentes say that? Why would Nick Fuentes say that? Now, was he saying it because he was saying that they thought he was racist? He didn't say that. Because that would make more sense. They liked Trump because they thought he was racist. That makes more sense, but that's not what he said. He said they like Trump because he's racist. I got a problem with that. This dude just said Donald Trump's father was the KKK. Oh my goodness. Oh my, we got one, y'all. We got one. We got one. We got one, y'all. This man just said Donald Trump's father was a KKK. And that whole story came from, they were at a parade in New York, and there was a guy doing something, and Donald Trump's father confronted him. That whole story was made up. You know what's funny about that? I had a family member's boyfriend say this in front of the whole family at Thanksgiving, in front of 40 people, and I said, show me the article. Go find it. He goes to his phone, pulls up the article, and the headline says, Donald Trump's father in the KKK. I read the article, though. The article don't say that. It's clickbait. So then I actually read the article, and I said, did you read it? He said, I have to read it. Look at the headline. Anyway, so Box Fresh, you just lost all credibility. You lost all credibility, all of it. Anyway, so Nick Fuentes just said that Donald Trump was racist. This is propaganda. Remember when he was saying about January the 6th? He said they were violent. Some of them may have been armed. They were fighting with the police. They broke into the Capitol. Militias. Think about the language that he was using about January 6th. And now look at him saying that Donald Trump is a racist. I told you all that most of the people that are on this side that are new, they're converted liberals. They're converted liberals. Why would Nick Fuentes say that Donald Trump is racist? Why would he say that? Knowing good and well that he's not racist. It is you are lost, not you're lost. I'm not taking possession of the loss. It's you are lost. I am lost. Oh, goodness. I wish the public school system is so janky. It's not you're lost. You are lost. Goodness. If you're going to try to clown, be grammatically correct, please. Anyway, but why would he say that? Why would he say that Trump was racist? Let's continue.
Plucked out by Peter Thiel, whoever he even is. Peter Thiel, with his fixation with the Antichrist, this homosexual who's involved with the CIA, who wants to live forever and govern the world with AI. Yeah, that's really relatable. That's really relatable. Do another show with him and Curtis Yarvin. Do another show. Do the 47th show with JD Vance. It is insulting, and it is insulting to everybody's intelligence for Tucker to sit there and say he doesn't know his dad is in the CIA, for him to say that I'm in the CIA. What a joke. What a sick joke. Especially after everything that's happened to me. And unlike what Candace Owens says, she says, what happened to him when he was 18? What happened to me is ongoing. Okay? Unlike Candace Owens and Tucker, I never got a contract with Ben Shapiro and Rupert Murdoch. I was on Maker Support. I was on Patreon. I was on D Live. I had to fight for everything I have. I didn't get $1 million contract from Turning Point. I didn't get $20 million from Fox News. My daddy didn't get me a job in Arkansas. So ridiculous.
Will said, because if Trump is racist, it will legitimize Fuentes' racist boogeyman character who the ADL needs to justify anti-Semitism laws. Now, you all do know that when they come out with these anti-Semitism laws, Now they'll tell you now. Now you see right now, I'm giving you all the nuance in questioning the Israeli government, questioning whether the Jews are chosen, questioning how they got the land. None of these things are anti-Semitic. They're not. But when these anti-Semitism laws pass, you best believe, oh, that's dead. There will be no nuance. There will be no grace and nuance granted when discussing anything dealing with Israel once they pass them laws. I'm telling you now, you're not gonna be able to say a word. And that's going, and that right there is going to make it really bubble over. Thank you, Will. Let me go to, and you can already tell that Box Fresh is a liberal because he's coming into a space wanting everybody to listen to him. This is what they do. Most liberals are narcissists. Imagine coming into a space, disagreeing, staying, and then making the entire conversation about yourself and how you feel. Liberal. Liberal. Imagine me going to somebody's page, disagreeing with the host, and just typing away. Instead of just getting off the page, I don't agree. Like, think about the mind of a person that goes to a page they don't agree with and stays on it. It's just insane, but it's really narcissism. That's all it is. Let me try to find this video of Nick Fuentes talking about this campaign that was funded against him. This is from one of my favorite content creators because I watched 2 shows yesterday. I think this is it. Let me go to the other page because it was 2 videos she did. Oh, you know what hurt my feelings yesterday, y'all? You know what? You know what hurt my feelings? I heard Jesse Lee Peterson ask Pearl, Just Pearly Things. He asked her, he said, did you get, like, you know, when he put you on the hot seat, he asked her, he said, did you get the jab? Now, I knew there was a strong possibility that she got the jab because she was living in England. I mean, yeah, in London. So I said, yeah, she probably got it because it was crazy over there. This girl said, you know, I'm going to play it. I'll play it in the show. I'll just play it. I'll play it. Let me go to this video. I hope it's this one, though. I hope it's this one. This is Bring the Asteroid News.
Being the CIA by Peter Thiel's best boys, by Tucker Carlson with his daddy. Tucker Carlson's, and you know what? Here's the other thing. Tucker Carlson said, I'm a weird gay kid.
Push these videos out
About being an elite who who was pro-Trump and red-pilled by Trump and animated by Trump's message of America first. And I asked questions about Israel, and I was punished for it. I did it years before Tucker Carlson started talking about Israel last year. And I sacrificed, and I was targeted by the ADL, by the SPLC, by the federal government, by the conservative movement that both Candace and Tucker were a part of. Candace and Tucker had nothing to say about Israel until it became unavoidable last year. Not popular, but unavoidable.
So much information. And it was so deep, the way he was breaking everything down. At one point, I was just like, I said a prayer for him. I did. I'm not being hyperbolic, guys. You guys, he was breaking everything down. It was, a good 2 minutes of this.
Conservative right-wing influencers to promote social media campaigns.
So this, and I'm going to let, a good 2 minutes of this play, because the beginning of this, you will understand Tucker Carlson actually came after Nick first.
Bryson called me up and said, hey, man, and we don't usually talk either. At least we don't talk often. He called me up and said, hey, my wife just got a campaign from Influenceable. If you don't know what that is, Influenceable at that time, now it's very big, but at that time, it was a small outfit that pays conservative right-wing influencers to promote social media campaigns.
So this, and I'm going to let, a good 2 minutes of this play, because this podcast last night, it was chock full of so much information, and it was so deep, the way he was breaking everything down. At one point, I was just like, I said a prayer for him. I did. I'm not being hyperbolic, guys. You guys, some of it I'm not playing on YouTube because he breaks down the matrix that we are in, and I don't think, believe it or not, I think YouTube will let me talk about Israel more than they'll let me talk about that. So, and I can't even go live, you know what I mean? But I want to play 2 minutes of this because you're going to see how Tucker Carlson funded an attack. Oh, God, I hate that. Funded like.
So just so there's no confusion. So Box Fresh. So tell me, what did I hype up Nick Fuentes on? I'm just curious because you said that I was supporting and following Nick Fuentes. So what did I hype Nick Fuentes up on? Box Fresh. You had the hot seat. You from London, so I'm gonna give you a reprieve. But today's title is Nick Fuentes a Fed Part 2? So if you don't know, then why would you say I was hyping up Nick Fuentes? So then why would you make the statement? This is what I mean by being an adult, being a grown man. Stop acting like a child. This is what I mean by being a libtard. If you don't know something, just ask the question. Don't say I'm supporting something, I'm following something, you hyping something up, which is what you did. So you need to apologize for saying that because you don't know. You just admitted you don't know. So be a man and say, I apologize. I didn't know. I spoke out of turn. I said the wrong phrase. Please forgive me. What is this live about? Easy. That's how you handle that. Forget it. Let's continue because I see he don't have the brain cells to have this conversation. Let's continue.
A verbal.
Too many. It must be something in the tea and something in the crumpets. He got some liquor in the tea and the Coke in the crumpets.
Like a narrative, ambushment on Nick Fuentes to start already getting him out of the conversation from years ago.
So they will put out in a group text to a number of influencers that you all know, hey, if you put out a TikTok or a tweet pushing this link or this hashtag or this message, we'll give you $300 per tweet. And it has to say this, and it has to say it in this way. It's basically an undisclosed advertisement. They're like an advertising agency, but it's all under the table. So Bryson called me up and said, my wife, Shekinah, she got a campaign from Influenceable that is pushing the gray zone article calling you a Fed. It ran from February 15th to February 20th. The campaign was called Fed Fuentes, disassociate from the far right. And it instructed the influencers who received it to talk about why I wasn't arrested after January 6th, to talk about the comments I made around January 6th, to say that I have all the hallmarks of being a federal agent. Someone paid Influenceable $100,000 to push this campaign under the table. They gave this brokerage a vast sum of money, and that brokerage, Influenceable, texted in group text messages to influencers, we will pay you. You have to say Fed Fuentes. You have to link the article. You have to say these things. And none of that went reported. Now, there was one person that tweeted the hashtag before I got ahead of the story. It was somebody from New York, this short, bald Jewish guy who many people believe is sexually abusive. That's an allegation.
I got to get that off the thing.
One person tweeted it out before I went live. As soon as I got the campaign, I went live the same day and I blew up their spot. The CEO of Influenceable called me up and said, please stop attacking us. We pulled the campaign. Stop bringing attention to us. The Groypers are all after us. Is this not weird? What's weird here? Now, I want to go even a little bit further. Who wrote the article? Max Blumenthal's wife. For those that don't know, Max Blumenthal, he's Jewish. He's extremely critical of Israel. He's written for Media Matters. He's written for Russia Today, Iranian state media. He's very close with Tucker Carlson. Max Blumenthal is the son of Sidney Blumenthal. Sidney Blumenthal ran a private intelligence network for Hillary Clinton with CIA officers, mercenaries. When Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, he was basically an intelligence broker for her. He's been described as the hatchet man of Bill and Hillary Clinton, also Jewish. It is his son that is close with Tucker. It's his wife that wrote this article that Tucker was shopping a month before it came out, fishing for quotes from Michelle Malkin. After the article was published, omitting any mention of how all of this started, how Joe Kent attacked me, how I stated why I was coming after him, and the rest of it. Someone paid thousands and thousands of dollars to promote this article, and the idea that I'm a federal agent, that's where all of this came from.
Okay.
So he just said a lot right there. And I'm going to say, okay, so we know this much. If what he's saying is true, we know this. To say that they didn't know who Nick Fuentes was is just not true. It's not true. Everybody knew and knows who Nick Fuentes is and was. Everybody knew. And they know now. And he got real popular. You got to think about it. He was one of the people at January the 6th. The reason why he's believed to be a Fed is because he was one of the spokespersons at January the 6th. He's one of the faces, like that guy right there. So again, now them having a campaign against him, does that mean that he's not a Fed? No, it doesn't. Now it could give credibility that he's not a Fed because it was a campaign started against him years ago. However, my reason for saying that he could be a Fed is what he said on January the 6th and what he's saying now. The problem that Nick Fuentes is not addressing is what he said at January the 6th, not him being there. Him just being there and not saying anything, nobody questions that. It's what he was saying. He was saying the same things that Ray Epps was saying, and Ray Epps didn't get in trouble, and he didn't get in trouble. But Ray Epps had to go and apologize for what he did. Even the left was like, you got to apologize publicly, Ray. You got to bend the knee. You got to grovel. Even the left wanted an apology for what Ray Epps said. I'm saying Nick Fuentes, as a man, because he's 26 now, should issue an apology for what he said on January the 6th. And he didn't say that he was wrong. Because telling somebody to do something that you know is wrong is not just wrong, but it's evil and it's wicked. So the reason why you're considered a Fed is not just because you were there January the 6th. Stop making light of that. You're considered a Fed because you told people to break down barriers, disregard the police, and go into the Capitol. That's why you're considered a Fed, because those actions are what got people sent to prison. Tierra said, I don't see Nick doing that ever. Well, I can't respect that. I can't respect that. And so Nick Fuentes being a Fed is always going to be in question until he does that. It is. You got to answer for that. You have to answer for that because you said that people were stupid for listening to you. So either you were genuine and you were setting people up, or you were disingenuous and you were setting people up. Either way, you watched people go into that building and then you and your team left. I can't respect it. Even the BLM leader of Utah went into the building trying to disguise as MAGA with a Trump hat on. But again, Tucker Carlson, very disingenuous. Candace Owens, very disingenuous. And they are trying to gatekeep Nick Fuentes. But they could all be unknowingly working for the same people. Like I told you all last show, all they have to do is get people to send you money, and you'll keep on making the same content. Think about it. Think about these powerful, evil organizations. Think about them just getting 20 accounts to give somebody, I don't know, $500 a month. Think about that. Or think about them having a certain number of accounts to get subscriptions. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's not hard to steer your content in the way they want to go if they're going to give you money. So if they got 20 people giving you $500 a month, you're going to be making that kind of content all the time. We're talking about 10 racks a month, 10,000 a month to get in front of a computer and talk. You're going to be doing that content every day, all day. So it's not hard to get you all working for the system. It's quite easy. But let's continue.
It's a lot that just was said. Okay. So yes, what that article. So in context, they did that because they wanted Joe Kent to win the congressional seat. This was in 2021. So going into the 2022 midterms, I remember Joe Kent constantly coming on Tucker Carlson's show. They swore he was going to win. And what happened was Joe Kent was working with Nick Fuentes, and Nick Fuentes said, I work with you discreetly, but never disavow me. You can't disavow me because it's just going to start problems where we all have to disavow each other. We're going to set precedents that we don't need to set. He was working with him discreetly. And for no reason, like Joe Kent got a real quick question about Nick Fuentes, and then he goes on Twitter and says, oh, people who are coming after me are saying that I work with Nick. I don't know Nick. They want to come after my campaign with this. I disavow him and all of, like, literally did the thing. So Nick went on his show and basically was like, nobody should vote for this guy. He is CIA intelligence agent. He doesn't keep his word. He's disingenuous. And it's true. And later on, you will find out that, like, these people are.
So my question is, if you thought that Joe Kent was a CIA agent, then why are you working with him in the first place? If Nick Fuentes thought that Joe Kent was a CIA agent, then why was he working with him in the first place? Do you all see what I mean? Do you all see what I mean by character? This is why you have to have good character. This is why. Because when you have poor character, this stuff starts to stand out. If you thought Joe Kent was a CIA agent, then why were you working with him? If you didn't believe in going to the Capitol and breaking down barriers and fighting the police, then why'd you tell people to do it? This is why character matters, because character reveals intent. I'm not going to tell anybody to do anything but pray and take your vitamins and eat your vegetables. I'm not going to tell you how to go crash out for something. Crazy. You ain't got to go into the Capitol. You get on your knees and pray. You ain't got to protest. Get on your knees and pray. You better fast and pray. But again, this is why character matters. Now you telling me when the guy disavows you, now he's in the CIA. No, that's not how that works. I'm not working with anybody that I believe is compromised. I'm not. Let's continue.
All connected by the same guy who Peter too. So there's a lot going on there. And these are the people calling him a Fed. Now, what you need to understand with all of this, I'm going to say this and I'll end with, a little bit more of Nick talking. Nick thinks that they're coming after him because, because they don't want him talking about, exactly how the country is running. Let's put it that way. While that is a huge part of it, but I think that he underestimates his reach and his what he does. Okay. The fact is, you will hear every night some super chat coming in. You made me go back to church. You made me go back to church. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, wow, winning hearts back for Christ. I think that's a beautiful thing. That to me is fear number one for the people who are running things.
Easiest way to find out what's going on, go to the source. So I would say before we even begin the discussion to Tucker Carlson, to anyone that knows him, share this with him. He will never see it because he claims to not have a TV or email or anything. So who knows if he'll see this, but if you know him and if you see him, and if you'd be a friend, pass along this message, clip this and pass along this message. Tucker, I'm ready. You are a journalist. You have made an accusation. You have asked a question. Now, Tucker says he has not watched my show. He's never met me. We've never talked. And if there was any uncertainty before, I will dispel all ambiguity right now. I have never spoken to Tucker in my life. I don't know him. And yet he's making some pretty big claims about me for somebody who doesn't watch my show and doesn't know me and has no experience with me. And I would say if you would give the president of Iran a chance, if you would give Prime Minister Netanyahu a chance, he's offered to interview him, Vladimir Putin, Ted Cruz, Candace Owens, if he's willing to debate Ben Shapiro, he called out Ray Epps, who is also accused of being a Fed involved in January 6th. Why not me?
See this? This is a 400-ounce.
So someone asked what I thought about Nick Fuentes' response. I think he gave a good response to Tucker Carlson and, exposing his credibility, but it still doesn't mean that he's not a Fed because of what he did on January the 5th. And again, I think he's not addressing the elephant in the room. But let's go to another video that I thought was good.
I'm hard. If you think, and I said this to an Israeli official, if you think I'm anti-Israel, man, you have lost the plot, son. If you think I'm your enemy, not at all. I like Israel. Are you kidding? I've spent a lot of time there.
No, that wasn't it. But remember what I was saying though. So again, it's an allowed conversation when it comes to Israel on a moral stance and on a somewhat geopolitical stance. So it's like the conversation is allowed to be had somewhat, because it's just, you have to have a discussion because it's too much information got out to the public, too much content over what's going on. But what Nick is talking about is both sides. How can I say this? What Nick is talking about is the conversation, even though it's being had, it's still a controlled conversation because it can only go so far. This is his point. So the conversation can't go to Nick's arena. It has to stay in this bubble of these approved talking points. Like when you go on to a show and they say, you know, you can only, or I would say, you can only discuss this, this, and this. Don't bring up my wife, my kids, none of that. You can only talk about these three things. It's kind of the same way. It's like a controlled conversation. But that wasn't the clip I wanted though. The clip I wanted was this one.
And so when I applied to CIA, and I've taken a lot of crap, including from Putin, like, oh, you're from a CIA family. Well, yeah, obviously my father worked in conjunction with CIA. I mean, that's what that is. And I tried to join the CIA, but I'm not being false about it. Native talent. And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn, actually, yeah, you know, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So no one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
So I'm a play it again.
And so when I applied to CIA, and I've taken a lot of crap, including from Putin, like, oh, you're from a CIA family. Well, yeah, obviously my father worked in conjunction with CIA. I mean, that's what that is. And I tried to join the CIA, but I'm not being false about it. Native talent. And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies, and I learn, actually, yeah, you know, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So no one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
So Tucker Carlson's dad died, like he said in the interview, March 24th, 2025. But in 2024,
and so when I applied to CIA, and I've taken a lot of crap, including from Putin, like, oh, you're from a CIA family. Well, yeah, obviously my father worked in conjunction with CIA. I mean, that's what that is.
So we know Tucker Carlson lied. He lied. And again, Choo Choo and Zaza, the fact he's so I think they are only acknowledging Nick is to create distance from themselves. That's why Candace had him on. So yeah, so I said this earlier, that not only are they trying to create distance, where Candace had him on, and basically they're saying that we are not, they're saying that we are not anti-Semitic. This is anti-Semitic. It's not us, it's him. Now, ultimately, the ultimate goal of this is to fracture the right so that America becomes one party. So you can't discredit the left because they're already discredited. So how do you get a uniparty? Is you discredit both sides and they come together with a mutual agreement and become one party. So now we're going to witness the destruction of what we call the right. The left doesn't need destruction because they're already Babylon. They don't care. But the right is supposed to stand on morals and values and standards and principles and character and all that stuff. Now we're going to witness the destruction of the right to get to this uniparty in America. Yes, they want to distance themselves from Nick Fuentes, but also they want to gatekeep. They want to gatekeep. So because Nick Fuentes is a threat, because he has the youth, He has the under 30 sold up. He has the under 30 crowd locked up. And not just white. And not just white. Oh, let me give a quick shout out for that last video. That was on Bring the Asteroid News. That was on her channel, Bring the Asteroid News. Please check her out. And she has another channel that's shadow banned now. And I forgot to mention that. Hold on 1 second. It's Ashley. God, you got to forgive me, Ashley. Anyway, follow Bring the Asteroid News. I'm getting a brain freeze right now. And she's going to shout her page out on Bring the Asteroid News, her other page, which they have, which is shadow banned. She can't go live because Candace Owens gave her a copyright strike, which is in line with what Candace Owens would do. That's something that she would do. But yeah, but they also want to gatekeep because they know they don't have the youth. Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, these people have, even Alex Jones to an extent, they have what we call sensible people. They have conspiracy theorists to an extent, but they're sensible. Nick Fuentes' crowd is a youth. And somebody mentioned that Charlie Kirk has a youth. He does have the youth. He has a sensible youth. He don't have the majority of the youth. The majority of the youth want to hear Nick Fuentes, regardless of color. The majority of the youth wants, matter of fact, Nick Fuentes is so good, he can talk about low IQ and folks still follow him and listen to him. I've seen it. There's a young man I follow, the Cartier family, and they were listening to Nick Fuentes talk about low IQ, and they were having a debate about it, and they was agreeing, like, so he has already bridged this quote unquote racial gap, because this new generation, there's something different. You're not gonna be able to get them with the racism and all that. That ain't gonna work. You're gonna get them with controversy, conspiracy theories, sensationalism. They want to be stimulated now and quickly. He does. He's a threat. I don't care what they tell you. He is a threat because they know they'll never get his audience. They can't compete with him with his audience, if that makes sense. They can only compete with Nick Fuentes and with their audience demographic, but not his. That 30 and under, they can't compete with him. None of them can. Alex Jones, none of them can. Ben Shapiro, who's the one guy? I forgot his name. Pat, there's a guy named Pat. None of them can compete with Nick Fuentes. There is no 26-year-old content creator out there that of any ethnicity that is compete with Nick Fuentes. None. Nick Fuentes is doing what he's doing without YouTube. Think about that. Without Instagram. I think he got on Twitter last year. But my point is, Nick Fuentes is doing all this stuff without YouTube. That is huge. That is huge. So don't make him any mistakes about it. They cannot compete with him. And he is a threat to them. Yes, a goddess, he is bitter. And I think if you ask him that, he would agree. If you say, are you bitter? He'd be like, yeah, I am bitter. He probably would say that, yeah, I am bitter.
I mean, this is part of the sad thing with Pat Buchanan, as far as I'm concerned. The sad thing is, and I know that no one who watches it will believe me, Pat does raise issues that I think. This is part of the sad thing with Pat Buchanan, as far as I'm concerned. The sad thing is, watches him will. I mean, this is part of the sad thing with Pat Buchanan, as far as I'm concerned. The sad thing is, and I know that no one who watches him will believe me, Pat does raise issues that I think are important. Doesn't mean everything he says is false. It doesn't mean he's not talented. He's enormously talented. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. I'm not attacking him personally. I mean, I think that, the sovereignty of the American military, et cetera, I mean, these are not just crank issues. It's young white men who've been totally cut out of our economy, attacked mercilessly. I mean, they really are the victim, and they're desperate, and no one speaks for them. So they go to Fuentes because he's like incredibly articulate, and they think he's our leader. But unfortunately, Pat Buchanan raises them in a way that I think is discredited. But he is clearly part of a campaign to discredit non-crazy right voices. Pat Buchanan is part of the reason it's so hard to have that conversation, because he discredits it by his presence. That's a campaign to destroy credible voices on the right. And Fuentes is part of it. And that he believes in conspiracies, and that he believes that the Jews are this sinister, secretly organized force trying to affect American politics. And those aren't discussions I think normal people, sober people should be having. Anyway, like, who is this kid exactly? Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just an accident that the guy exclusively goes after people who are in the same, roughly the same. And then he gets up there and he's like, making Holocaust jokes. When attacked, he can always fall back on the line, well, the tiny cabal that controls American politics doesn't like me because I speak truth to power. This is actually, incidentally, almost verbatim what he said the other day, that I offend the plutocracy, that I'm a wanted man by the inside the Beltway people, and in every sense cast himself as a victim who is sort of a Karen Silkwood of politics, someone who's so truthful that he's being hunted down by the conspiracy that runs Washington. I mean, it's all a bit much.
It's funny how the same thing that
as far as I'm concerned. The sad thing is,
the same thing he did to Pat Buchanan is the same thing he's doing to Nick Fuentes. Same script. It almost like it's the same script. It's almost like it was the same script. He did the same play in 1999 against Pat Buchanan. He's doing the same play against Nick Fuentes. Now, does that mean that Nick Fuentes isn't a Fed? No, it doesn't. Does it mean that Nick Fuentes is a Fed? No, it doesn't. I gave my reasons as to why I believe that he possibly could be, and also they all could be. But I also said that you don't have to be a willing participant to be used by the system. I just think it's just quite interesting that Tucker Carlson in 1999 sounds the same in 2025. 26 years later, he's talking about the same type of playbook. I don't think so. Pat said he didn't like that Fuentes used the N-word, didn't want him on the show. But then I think he said, make sure it's the right guy. Because then he said he might have him on the show, though. He was talking the other day and he said he might have him on the show. Oh, no, that's somebody else. Never mind. Oh, yeah. Hold on. So you're saying that Pat Buchanan didn't want Nick Fuentes on the show? I'm not talking about Pat Buchanan. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson using the same playbook against both. I'm not saying that Pat Buchanan and Fuentes are the same. I'm saying that Tucker Carlson using the same playbook. Matt Walsh says something powerful. And he said, because him and Tucker were talking about Israel, and Matt Walsh said, if a country cannot defend itself, then it's not a country. And think about the irony in that. Think about a nation that exists, but they can only exist with the help of other nations. Think about that. If you think about countries like Russia, China, we just fight you by ourselves. Iran probably would, just North Korea. There are certain countries in the world that say, you know what, we just fight you by ourselves. But Matt Walsh said something that was powerful, though. He said, if you're a country and you can't defend yourself, you're not a country. But it's true. Because think about it, what you own is what you can defend. This is the way of the world. But I don't know. I thought that was powerful when he said that. So can I get a quick poll? Oh, because of what Pat said. Okay. Yeah, but I thought Pat said he might have him on the show. He probably won't, though. I think he was talking and said he might have him on the show. He probably won't. So can I get a poll real quick? How many people think that Nick Fuentes is a Fed? The only way to ensure the Hegelian dialect is to control both sides, right wing, left wing. I agree. Okay, yes. Pat, yes, he did say that. But then I saw a clip where he was talking about, I think he said that Nick said he was done with the N-word or something. It was something that he said he might have him on the show. I'm talking about that clip. Because I saw the clip talking about he said he didn't like using the N-word. There was another clip. But again, I think that Nick Fuentes uses the N-word as a point of free speech. So it's kind of like I'm using the word to exercise free speech, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of like I'm saying the word for shock value, but also because it's still free speech, I should be able to say the word. And honestly, he should be able to say the word, but I mean, I would have him on my show, but let me see what y'all are saying about him being a Fed. So Forrester said yes, he's a Fed. Paul, okay. Will Wait said no. Paul said no. Janon TV said not sure. Magadas Navi said right here he is and has mad connections. Venus Awakened, I don't know, probably not. Uraz, I don't think he is one. Top Herc, indeed he is. JoJo, he's a Fed. Fed for what? Catching domestic terrorists? He is backed by someone higher up. Moldy Guard, I don't know if he's a Fed or not. I don't want him to be, but nothing's shocking these days. Pat Bed Davis cooled off about the N-word. Nick is blowing up this year, so he will have him on the show, I bet. Yeah, because I remember he was talking about he might have him on the show. That's what I was saying, yeah. Christopher said, I don't think he's a Fed. Speedsy said no, but not 100%. I'm not sure. You would, Blanche. Ooh. Rip Van Ass, he's an opportunist. Cruise Missile, still unsure about Nick. T. Kane, not unsure, but I believe he might have been used by them. People think everybody is a Fed. You're right, Charles. You all right? Oh, okay, yes, you're right. Nick did say he was going to stop using it because it was getting in the way of his message, but doesn't he say blacks are the bottom of the barrel in intelligence? Well, what he said is he said that black people on average have lower IQs. He said black people in America have higher IQs than black people in sub-Saharan Africa. He said, but sub-Saharan Africa has low IQs, and black people in America have higher IQs, but lower than whites. And then Asians have higher IQs than whites. And then he argued about Jews having higher IQs than whites. But yeah, he did say that black people had lower IQs. He didn't say that it made them inferior. He didn't say it made them inferior, or he said it didn't make them worse or make white people better. He said, but it's just a point of, he said a point of fact. But listen, I cannot agree with somebody and understand where they're coming from. A lot of people I disagree with, but I understand where they're coming from based on where they're coming from. Is that, if that makes sense? I always try to contextualize my points and contextualize what somebody is saying so I can be fair when I'm giving my assessment. Nick Fuentes said he doesn't think that all black people have a lower IQ. He said on average, he does believe that. I would argue and say, to me, the number one outlier is the culture. If you place black children and do not expose them to black culture, but expose them to traditional Western Christian values as a culture, legitimately those values, you're going to get the same results, in my opinion. I could be wrong. But I went to private school my whole life, and there were all races of children that were in the quote unquote gifted programs and honors, what we call honors. The high school I went to was already on college prep level. So the high school I went to would have been a normal school's honors program. So my basic high school education was already above normal. But in my high school, there was something that was above even the college prep. It was even honors, to where they was even getting credits for college in high school. So those students, though, were of all races. They were white, black, Hispanic, Asian. The one thing I noticed about those students, though, is that they all, oddly enough, had the same culture about them, because for the most part, they all hung out together. Like all of the geniuses of the high school, the really, really smart kids, they all hung out together. They all walked the same on their toes. They all dressed like they all followed the dress. Like, it's crazy that the most intelligent kids in the class in the high school shared the same kind of personality traits, even to the point where they all was friends. Like, it was crazy. Now that I look back on it. But I don't think that, I'll say this, IQ is determined by your genetic makeup, yes. But I'm saying, just to look at a black person and say they got a low IQ, just because they have a low IQ, I don't agree with that. I'm saying that black culture, and nobody wants to study this, but black culture has done such a psychological and intensive mind destruction on black people, to where black people, even if they are intelligent, they'll dumb themselves down to be black. If that makes sense. Black people will dumb themselves down just to be black. Like, that's how intense black culture is. So yeah, black culture needs to be studied, and it needs to be studied from an unbiased committee, a committee that doesn't believe that America's racist, a committee that don't, like, it needs to, a committee that says, we only believe, I even take this as a concession. We only believe what is provable. That's all we believe. I'll take that group, because you're not going to be able to prove racism. So I'll take that group to have them assess the actual ill effects of black culture on black children. It's hard for me to assess a child growing up with Big Mama and them. It's just hard. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Black culture needs to be studied. The psychological program of the Black American needs to be studied. It does. The stuff I hear Black people say on this side of heaven, on this side, because I was on that side, but on this side, it's mind-blowing now. It's mind-blowing to look back at my old videos and see I was thinking like that. My goodness. That's how I know it's a psychological program. Because I'm a totally different thinking person than I was just 5-6 years ago. All Productions said learning starts at home. Cammy said, I did that and fought against it a lot in middle school and high school. It's hard. You're being told you're not Black by schoolmates. Then you go home. You're not Black enough there either. I'm glad she said this because, again, this is a part of the psychological warfare that Black children and people, children especially, because they got to grow up in this, are going through. You're asking her to focus on things of a scholastic nature, i.e. schoolwork, when she's struggling to understand who she even is. A child's number one priority is to be accepted, is to be liked. So you're asking somebody to set that on the back burner and just focus on being an A student. It's not going to happen. That's why in most public schools, the gifted children get separated because they know. She said, I did that and fought against it a lot in my middle school and high school. It's hard when you're being told you're not Black by schoolmates. Then you go home and you're not Black enough there either. So you're asking her to try to undo this psychological damage and get an A on a chemistry exam. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And then she cuts on the television and it's more propaganda. She looking in the mirror. She turns the television on. White people are racist. She turns on a movie. It's a slavery movie. Like it's a psychological attack on the minds of Black people. It is. And to me, even beyond it being a psychological attack, it's a spiritual attack. And I don't want to sound like a victim or that Black folks are victims, but I am going to say this, that it is an intentional propaganda and programming pushed on Black people. That's true. And it's because Black people are the people of influence. So if they can steer that ship, every other ship will follow. So I'm glad that she said that. Yes, it's coming from all angles for Black people. I'm glad she's saying this because it's true. When these guys talk about IQ, they don't even scratch the surface of what she's talking about. They don't even scratch the surface of, imagine you're in a household and you're getting straight A's. Your siblings are not. Now, do you think your siblings are going to be egging you on and cheering you on to still keep getting A's, or are they going to talk about you? I had a guy tell me he grew up in the Bronx. He said they used to beat up the smart kids. He said they used to beat up the smart Black kids. It's so much nuance when we talk about this thing called IQ, but you got to put Black people in a whole separate category, and we have to address the programming and propaganda. Imagine the Democrats sitting back and saying, if we want Kamala Harris to win, she has to be Black. Do you understand the psychological game that's playing on people's minds? I saw Black people make Kamala Black. All the evidence said that she's not Black, and Black folks said she's Black. That's how deep the programming is. I did video after video showing Kamala saying she was Indian, showing Kamala admit, and it didn't even matter. She black. That's how deep the psychosis goes when it comes to this black culture thing. That's how deep it is. And folks don't want to talk about it. It's crazy. Thank you, Martin Towns, for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Arita from the Bay. Great show, Blanche. May God continue using you to be a blessing to others. Thank you so much. Rita from the Yay. Thank you so much. Y'all know about the Yay area. That's where the game originated. You know, listen, y'all, Northern California is where the game originated. That's where the game comes from. You know, people talk about the game. The game comes from Northern California. I don't know if y'all knew that or not, you know, but just thought I'd say that. Donna's doing it. I always appreciate your content in the chat. Thank you, Blanche and everyone. Thank you so much, Donna. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much supporting me. Thank you. Cruise Missile, always coming through. Thank you so much. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. All Production, thank you so much. Always supporting as well. Thank you so much again. All Production, always supporting. Thank you, Goddess Nabi, for moderating. So I guess the consensus is that we're kind of split on whether or not Nick Fuentes is a Fed or if he's not a Fed. We can agree that there is information out there that supports him being a Fed and that supports him not being a Fed. But you all know my stance on this is January the 6th, and for him to not be arrested, and for Ray Epps, that it was set in stone that Ray Epps was a Fed. That's set in stone, and Nick Fuentes did the same thing Ray Epps did, and nobody, I don't know. So again, he could be a Fed, he may not be a Fed, I don't know. But again, they all could be Feds. I told you all before that either side leads to globalism. Either side leads to one world government. If you're pro-Israel, anti-Israel, what difference do it make? It's still going to lead to the global one world government, the global citizen. Pro-Hamas, it don't matter. Pro-BLM, it all is going to lead to the one world government. That's why I tell you all to pray, trust the Lord, take your vitamins, eat your vegetables. If you can, get some land. Hopefully you can get married, find you a good woman, a good man, and hopefully live the best life you can until it's time to fight. I mean, that's all I got for you. That's the best I got. Hopefully we can live our best life until it's time to fight. Yes, Paul, pro-Jesus and pro-American, in that order. And I'm ending on that note. Listen, I love y'all, and I will see you all on. Okay, listen, so I might go live on Wednesday, but then I'm going live with Molly on Thursday, and then I'll probably go live on Saturday. So Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, but Thursday is going to be for Molly promoting her new book. But listen, I love y'all, and I want y'all to pray for each other, and I pray for you all every night. And thank y'all for supporting me, and I will see you all on hopefully Wednesday. Thank y'all so much. Love y'all.